On this episode of the Ask Mike Reinold Show, we talk about how to best utilize social media for a physical therapy clinic, and we talk about the concept of one-on-one treatment versus seeing a bunch of people at the same time. The Ask Mike Reinold Show. Helping people feel better, move better, and perform better. Welcome back, everybody, to the latest episode of the Ask Mike Reinold Show. I'm up in Champion PT in
Boston.
I'm up at Champion PT and Performance in Boston, Massachusetts. Go Red Sox, right? World Series champions.
I hope they win the World Series. We'll see.
I don't know where they'll go, but anyway, we're back with another great episode. Lenny Macrina, Dave Tilley, Dan Pope, Mike Scaduto here, answering your questions: PT, fitness, sports performance, business. Andrew K-Bomb's mustache thing that he's growing. Anything you guys want to ask us questions
I wish you could
about?
zoom in on just that.
We will. That'll be the image for it. Anything you guys want, head to MikeReinold.com, click on that podcast link, and you ask us some great questions. But let me introduce the students. New students, so we say farewell to Alicia, who we miss already, right? We already miss Alicia, but we're back.
She does not.
We're back. And we got a new student that is just like through the roof, right? Through the roof. Adam Pizzow. First student that doesn't have his own nickname. He would just say his last
like
name
a comic.
as an exclamation.
Comic book.
It's so good.
For the people that are old like Lenny and I, do you remember the old Batman?
Yeah.
Where like on the screen it would
Kaboom!
be like pow.
Yeah.
That's every time he
I read
walks
those
in the
comic
room.
books.
I'm just like Pizzow. So anyway, Adam Pizzow,
One name or like Adele.
he goes to the New York Institute of Technology, who apparently physical therapy is a technology-based profession there.
I didn't realize there was any other one except MIT.
So
right now.
Niet. He goes to Niet. I can imagine the boards like all sitting around there like, man, technology's like, we need to expand. What should we do? Like, let's add physical therapy. Brilliant! I hope your professors aren't listening, but if you do, good job with Pizzow. But we got Pizzow. We have Andrew K-Bomb Kirschbaum for the University of Oakland. It's university, right? Oakland University. That has nothing to do with California. And our fan favorite, Brian Winkler from, where are you from? University of Delaware. So anyway, let's take it away. Who's up first?
I'll go.
Pizzow!
You guys are about to get pizzowed!
Wow us. Yeah, Pizzow us, Pizzow.
Mark is from Seattle. Hey Mike, as a DVT student, we are talking about managing social media contact in our future practices. How do you manage patient privacy, marketing, patient and friend relationships on the internet? Any words of wisdom or stories to share?
I like it. All right. In the future, pre-read these questions. It'd be good. You'd be a little more comfortable going through them. All right, so that was a good question, right? So physical therapy student in college, and they're talking about using social media for their practices. He said a few things. One was privacy, right? Privacy, marketing, and then
patient and friend relationships.
like friendly relationships and stuff like that. And I think those are actually all good questions, how we do it. We all have social media presences. Presence. What's the plural of presences? We see how quickly we lose focus.
We have a social media presence.
We presences. We all have presences. But yeah, and I agree. Those are actually all valid questions. Why don't we start, Lenny, very specifically? So specifically. How do we handle privacy here at Champion?
We don't. No, I'm kidding.
I thought that was like a law. I thought you had that one.
Our paperwork that people sign and read thoroughly states that we may use their picture, their video, something, they may be in the background of something that we're shooting, because we are a site of higher education. So we're always filming stuff, we're always sharing stuff. I think people understand that. I think once in the 4+ years we've been open, somebody said they don't want to be filmed.
And they were an attorney, right? Only attorneys read your paperwork, right?
Cross it up with their initials, on it, which is fine. We respect that, but it's in our paperwork, so people understand that. And I think I'll even talk to people and let them know, I'm going to film this. It's going on social media. I'll show them the video so they can see what's going on. And 99.999% of the people are fine with it.
I would say like a lot of our presence too is it's random videos or educational videos,
Right.
and it's not necessarily tied to the person's specific diagnosis sometimes.
Definitely not.
But again, like look, when you give presentations, you're traveling, you're speaking at conferences, you have these things. So I actually think you have a bigger issue with all the therapists that you go to at a huge conference, and you're seeing pictures of them rehabbing people, because I guarantee you they didn't get a release for that to put them into their PowerPoint, right? So we said from the beginning, we're just going to put it in our intake paperwork for privacy, and that's also, for marketing reasons. So, in our experience with marketing, I'll answer that, and then maybe you guys can talk, because we all use our personal stuff for, or our social stuff for personal too. But like for marketing, I think our biggest thing that we've done at Champion that we try to do is like, look, we don't specifically market and run ads. Well, I mean, we do to an extent, but when you look at our social media profiles, it's not a lot of just generic ads. It's, look, this is us, this is what we do. And we also happen, if you want to work with us or you want to learn from us, there's ways to do that. But it's just like snapshots into what we're doing or educational type things. I mean, that's how we handle it in terms of marketing. So for us in marketing, it's all education and establish yourself as an authority and an expert. And then, people will find you and they'll want to work with your stuff. But I don't know if anybody has anything to add, by all means. But does anybody want to talk about the personal? Because look, we become, friendly with our people. Like, where do the lines blur? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's kind of both questions, and I think all of us here take our approach to social media as if we can deliver value to the people and they think that it's helpful information, they'll be inclined to follow us and want to learn from us. It's again, like you said, we're not saying like, buy this, blah, 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 or like sneaking these like marketing messages in. We all kind of take the belief,
but you gotta do it every now and then.
Yeah, generally, 95%.
Yeah.
Specifically though, I think that's the way we treat is like if we're here for you and we want to help you and like you understand we're good people, that like you're going to be more inclined to follow us. That develops your brand, and that develops your people who are like, oh, by the way, I didn't know Mike has this shoulder thing. Like I'd love to learn from Mike. He knows his stuff really well. So I think that's an important thing to take. I personally follow a lot of Gary Vee's content model about how he creates and distributes content because it provides value and it's not like snake oil salesman, I guess that's the term for it, is you're not trying to like sneak somebody and you're like, oh, by the way, buy this, So I think that's on the next line of communications with patients is something that we do a lot of is trying to keep up with people's sports. Like you guys watch their baseball games, I try to follow them if they get a scholarship. I'm like, oh, congrats, like you were working so hard. Or Dan will follow with people on social media for competitions and CrossFit and stuff. It's like I think that establishes our professional relationship with them, but it doesn't blur the line of personal life. Like they're not, I have separate personal profiles, I have separate personal stuff, and it gets a little bit overlapped, but for the most part, I kind of separate my business life from my personal life in that way.
Right. Yeah, and I would say very similar too with that with me. I don't know if you ever noticed, I actually don't really use social media.
Yeah.
Which is funny, right?
Ditto.
Because I'm quite often on social media, but Mike as a person doesn't really use social media. I have like a private Facebook account that, I use like I dabble a little bit, but I would rather
jam pictures.
I'd rather punch myself in the face and actually get on Twitter sometimes. Twitter seems like such an annoyance sometimes. But like, look, there's very rare do you see a personal snapshot of my life. Like if you see my kids and stuff like that. Now I know Lenny does, for example. I don't know. I just never. I don't know. There's too many people follow me. If like Instagram right now, I think there's like 75,000 people right now. I guarantee you a very small percentage want to see a picture of my kid. Right? They want to see my educational content. So you gotta pick where you do. I definitely think I encourage you to have, if you want a personal profile with 300 followers that are your friends, you should do that. But then have a professional one that's on your own. I don't think you blur those lines. But for us, in terms of marketing, the two big things that piggyback off Davis, we try to establish expertise and culture, right? Where you get to see what it's like being here, right? And I think that is all the marketing you need in my mind. So. What else? You guys have any other thoughts on the personal stuff or marketing?
Well, I was going to say something that kind of piggybacks on what you had said, Mike. People love the educational content. I think that's the reason why they come towards your page. The other piece is that if you really are trying to sell something, people like to see that you're a human being as well. So part of it is that like I put a bunch of videos up myself, like deadlifting and eating grilled cheese, so people know that I'm still like a human being. You know.
At the same time.
Yeah, I'm kind of like you in that sense, where I don't really like social media, but I realize the importance of it. So I think that the educational thing should always be the primary part of it, but also letting your people know that you're a human being is probably helpful. And I'm kind of guilty of probably doing too much of the educational side. No one really knows who I am. So
right. Yeah, and you probably do a little more personal than me, but I like how you do personal. It shows that you're human without like being personal. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you eat grilled cheeses. I like that. But like, you know, it's not like, hey, here's my social security number.
I haven't had a grilled
You know
cheese
what I
since I was like 8.
You gotta set it up, man.
The grilled cheese are good. What do you got, Mike?
I would say from the personal level, I don't have a problem like following my patients and having my patients follow me on Instagram. I think that's totally fine. I do post personal things on my Instagram, but I keep it on a boundary. Like I would never post anything that I wouldn't want anyone to see on social media. So I just know that going into it. But I would say, like Dave said, like you kind of keeps you up to date with what's going on in their life, because we work with a lot of high school, college kids who sometimes they post things on Instagram, don't even talk about it in real life. Like they get a scholarship, and then you can bring that up to them, and that just kind of builds your relationship in person. I think they actually really appreciate that if you kind of know what's going on. Like even if you found it out on Instagram that they got a scholarship to college, and then you congratulate them, and when they come in, and they get really pumped up about that. So
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to use it on the personal level.
Or
It's
you
not-
can, you can spy on them too. I can think of a bunch of ACLs in my head. And I'm like, dude, what were you doing
Yeah.
this weekend? You know,
They're all running sprints.
actually, he's coming in today, so I'm gonna ask him about it.
Doing cartwheels on the beach. He just had
Yeah,
ACL.
exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would say a lot of our kids, they get like tickled like if we comment like, hey, congrats or something, they love it, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a big part of us here. Like you're part of the family when you're here. so.
But I think the
there's a lot.
question is the legality of it, because I know a lot of doctors don't. And I've been in this discussion too on social media about following your clients or your clients following you on social media, and there's a lot of back and forth arguing going on the legality or the moral of it and all that. And so I'm on the camp of let's get everybody involved and let's everybody interact and have fun about it, versus I gotta hide that I'm eating grilled cheese from my ACL patient, because why? I don't know. It doesn't even make sense in my head, but some people take that very personally. I don't. I'll post my daughter every once in a while, or my wife, or me, but most 99% of the time it's PT related stuff, But like Dan said, just to show the little private side every once in a while, just to show you're a person. But I don't see anything wrong with it, and I encourage it. So I don't think there's anything HIPAA related or anything like that. They've consented. They've accepted your friend. So,
That's actually a good point. If they accept your friendship and their account's private, that's quite consent right there. To an extent. But yeah, no, I think it's more just like having people in the background. Right, people in the background and stuff like that, and I think, look, we just, we cover that, but it's about the culture that you're in with there. But just be cautious of the people around you. So, all right, what's next?
All right, Sally from Georgia. What are your thoughts on one-on-one physical therapy? Am I wrong in wondering what kind of education and training I am providing to my high-functioning clients as I jump back and forth between 2 or 3 clients at a time? I feel that if the patient doesn't need direct education or supervision with my skills, then they don't need to be in the clinic. But I feel the pressure of declining reimbursements as well. Is it too much of a burden on clinic finances to treat one-on-one?
That's Sally, right? Sally?
Sally.
So, a very well articulated question from Sally right there. And so it sounds like, to paraphrase a little bit, Sally works or would like to or does work with high functional people. It sounds like advanced level type people, and she feels limited by the burdens and of seeing 3-4 people at once. And I think a real question is, what do we think's best and that sort of stuff. So for us at Champion, we're one-on-one because we have high functioning people that require our use of our time. And I would say we completely agree with you where if you're just doing like exercises and you're doing something that you barely even need supervision on, then yeah, you probably should do that at home, and your time in the clinic should be spent probably using the clinician. That's why you're there, so hands-on and stuff like that. So yes, we're one-on-one, but we're hands-on for that whole time. I mean, it's very rare. We don't just put people in a corner and they do stuff. I mean, it's very rare. It's all part of the program, or it's integrated, or they're bouncing back and forth between an exercise and a manual technique. So we feel that that's important, but again, I get it, in the insurance model, that's a little tough, right? So what have you guys, in the insurance-based model, how many people an hour were you guys required to see? I don't even remember.
I was like 3.
So 3 is what they shot
3
for?
to 4, 2 to 3.
Yeah.
would
So
be.
I've seen clinics
We
now
were 4.
just be happy. Right, we were 4. Right, back in the day. I've
2
seen
at the top of the hour, 2 at the bottom of the hour, and then 2 at the next top of the hour. So 6 in the hour, I guess.
technically,
If you think of it like that.
it's 6 and 61 minutes.
Could have 2 valves going at once with
Right.
with 4 follow-ups.
with other people.
Yeah.
I think we all definitely agree that's not the best care. Right.
Sounds like Sally, if she's treating high-level people and she's at that stage where she's like doing stuff like this, like seeing them as needed and all that. Like, sounds like Sally needs to maybe go off on her own and consider her own cash-based entity.
Kind of off of that, I remember when I switched from the insurance model to working here, I was really terrified about financially making ends meet because I was dependent on hours per scene then.
Right.
And I think the biggest advice I can give to people is if you're looking to try to get out of the hour equals time, is try to diversify where your streams of income are coming from. So if you're breaking off and maybe doing something on your own, you could probably have your hands-on time in your clinic, but maybe you start doing some lecturing on the side, maybe you start doing some online education, maybe you start doing some other services. Like I had a couple other things from the website or from, I was coaching still, that helped me supplement bridging from that to that. Because the first couple of weeks I didn't really know anybody down here, and it was like 2 or 3 people, and you guys helped me out a ton, which was good. But at the same time, it's like it took me about like 6 months to get to a full, like, consistent caseload. And I think having other
Actually, looking at your
was
numbers, I
good.
don't feel like you're at a consistent pace.
Yeah.
We'll talk later about
Yeah,
that.
you're the least consistent.
you're fired.
Yeah,
Kidding, love you.
I gotta say, I think the biggest thing is whether or not you're morally okay at the end of the day, seeing that many patients and feeling like good about yourself. I remember for me, I was just working in a clinic where I was seeing too many people I felt at the same time. Some people did phenomenal and some people didn't. And I think one of the reasons why they didn't was just because our model wasn't set up for them, you know. At the end of the day, I wasn't doing what I wanted to do and I just felt conflicted, so I made the change. And what I will say is I've talked to lots of other people who've went cash-based, and that does work too. So in a lot of ways, I think it's better for me as far as finances go and my time spent. I also have other revenue streams, just like Dave said. But the biggest thing for me was, am I okay doing this? The other clinicians that stayed in that model, they had no problem. It was fine. They just did all day long. Wasn't an issue. No major moral conflicts. For me, I had a big issue, and I didn't feel good at the end of the day about it. So that kind of led me to make a change. And I feel like I do a better job now, but that's kind of what I always wanted to do, so it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, there's such a diverse group of people out there, right? Like, you have some people that can get away with 15 minutes of hands-on work and then some exercises because it's not that big of an injury, or they don't have advanced, like, functional needs or something like that. There's a person out there that'll do completely fine in that model, and then there's people that seek out models like ours because they want more hands-on time, because they have bigger goals and needs in this world, and they kind of do that. You know, to defend the insurance-based model, and the reason why you see that many people, it's just profit margin. I mean, that's all it is. Man, rent's expensive. Your insurance is expensive. Everything is expensive. The profit margin, this morning I texted a bunch of my buddies around the country and just kind of asked them something. I think the majority of people say the profit margin on a physical therapy clinic is about 10 and 20%. I mean, that's pretty low. I mean, if people are getting higher, it's usually for other reasons, like they have out-of-network and cash-based services that they do. But physical therapy is 10 to 20% profit margin, right? So sometimes, like, if you have low reimbursement rates and you have terrible insurance contracts in your area, your clinics are forced to see that many people an hour. It's just the way it is. So look, think of it as that creates a market need for people like you, Sally, and people like us that have a different model that can do it. So it's not necessarily negative, it's just an opportunity, you know, to reach that small percentage of people that need more. Does that make sense? Sound good? Awesome. Great episode. Thanks so much for the questions. Good ones this week. Really appreciate them. Head to MikeReinold.com, click on that podcast link, and you can ask us more questions. Go to iTunes, Spotify, and rate and review our podcast for us so we can, you know, keep doing this and really spread the word. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you guys on the next episode.